And what up YouTube, welcome back to a new video with Rams Fan YT. In today's video, I am doing my predictions. But before we get into them, I just want to say a few things. Thank you very much for all the new subscribers. We are now on 73, which has gone... we've had 11 new subscribers over the last 28 days, which is, frankly, I never thought it would happen. It's unbelievable. We've also had 10,000 views on the channel over, I think it's 10,000, and that was from Tuesday. There's been much more since then. Thanks for all the support. And also feel free to join my Championship Fantasy League. I'll be dropping my Premier League Fantasy League when I release my Premier League predictions next week. But because the Championship starts a week earlier tonight, I'm dropping that now. The code will be in the description. Please join along. It'd be amazing fun. Like to see who you think would be good players and stuff. And also leave your predictions in the comments down below. But without further ado, let's get into my predictions. 24th, I've gone with Birmingham City. And this might have been a bit harsh. Maybe it's more 22nd now. But the whole takeover saga with Bassini has really restricted Birmingham in the transfer window. And have also brought in the inexperienced manager, John Eustace. I remember Eustace as a player. I really liked him. But in terms of management, the only spell he's had as a permanent job is at Kidderminster Harriers. You're not comparing like with like here, are you? Comparing bananas and apples. There are also rumours of a point deduction looming again. And so there's all sorts of uncertainty. And if they do get that point deduction, definitely 24th. 23rd, Reading. They are currently under a transfer embargo, so they can't improve from last season. They have lost the crucial players of John Swift, Rinomota, you can argue that one, Laurent, Halilovic, Barker, and Morrison. I would have kept about half of them, to be fair. They also have high earners like Pukas, who has been poor ever since he joined. Let's not really beat around the bush there. So the only really good player left is Lucas João, and he's injury prone. The owner is also ignorant of the club's plight and have backed losing managers for too long. I think they still have the manager from last season as well, so definite relegation for me. 22nd, Rotherham United. They are a yo-yo club, so it's unsurprising that I've backed them to be relegated again. For the last 3 times they've been in the Championship, they have been relegated. And so will do so again. They still have Paul Warner as manager. He's not a bad manager. It's just his level is League One, not at the Championship. None of the keepers are good enough for the Championship. And they also lost their star striker to Smith. I think it was to Sheffield Wednesday, actually. They took a step down to some of their players. And they also lost the defender Ihiekwe, which I highly rated. I still do. 21st, Bristol City. They have spent the last few seasons around the bottom end of the table, but more towards the mid-table. But last season, their home form was absolutely dreadful. And if this continues, they will struggle more. There's also rumours of Weimann leaving this summer, which I could see happening, to be fair. That would leave a massive void in the goal-scoring department. I mean, I know they've got Chris Martin, but Weimann scored 12 goals last season, I think it was. And they also have one of the worst defences in the Championship. They concede way too many goals. They will struggle this season, and I could see them being relegated. But there are 3 worse teams, and there will be, definitely. 20th, I go with Blackpool. While they did very well last season, I am worried from Tanneries, as they did lose Neil Critchley as he went to become Aston Villa's assistant manager. Michael Apton is a decent manager in League One, but he has a very bad record in the Championship. I've looked a bit at his 2 spells. Didn't last very long at Blackpool, didn't last very long at Blackburn. Both awful times. They've absolutely awful spells. Also, at the end of the season, they lost 2-0 to Derby and 5-0 to Peterborough, both of whom were relegated at the end of last season. I'm not too concerned about the Derby one, but the Peterborough one, you can't be shipping 5 goals to a team which is pretty much already relegated. I think they were mathematically confirmed, actually, but maybe not. 19th, Preston North End. They always finish in mid-table, but I think they've really lost a bit of ambition at the club. About 5 seasons ago, I remember in 2018-19, they were 8th, I think. They were really pushing for the playoffs. They have made some good acquisitions, though. Robbie Brady in defence and Freddie Woodman in goal. I really think they're good moves. But they've actually lost quite a lot of quality up front with Barkhusen going to Derby. Izzy Brown, I know he was a bit inconsistent. Scott Sinclair as well. Along with the defender Rafferty, who is also a massive loss. I don't think they'll score enough. They've put a bit too much weight on the shoulders of Emile Reese. I think Emile Reese is a good player. I've got him on my fantasy team, but I don't think it's going to be enough for anywhere near as successful as they were last time. I think they'll be lower placed this season as a result of this. 18th, Hull City. Well, last season they finished 19th, and despite bringing in some hidden gems from Turkey, they've spent a lot of players. No, I spent a lot of money on players who aren't used to the intensity of the game of the Championship. Some people from Fenerbahce and some other people, I forget the names. But as the manager stated last season, he wasn't used to the intensity. So how is bringing in foreign players who aren't used to the intensity as well going to be any help? So I think they'll struggle to adapt initially. Turkey as well is no longer a big league. We have in our minds Fenerbahce, Galatasaray, Besiktas. Well, none of them are that big anymore. I think Galatasaray finished like 13th last season, and Fenerbahce 7th, was it? It was something like that. It was very poor showing by the teams in Turkey. And actually, according to the UEFA rankings, they are next to Cyprus in terms of ability, and no one thinks of Cyprus as a good leagues. They have also lost the key players of Key Lewis Potter, Smallbone, Tom Eves, and George Honeyman, all vital to the team last season, and big losses. They therefore won't be pushing for playoffs like some deluded Hull fans have said so. And I think it'll be much the same as last season, really. Although I have seen some say, oh, they could be relegated. I don't think that they're quite that bad. 17th, Wigan Athletic. Liam Richardson may be inexperienced at this level, but I think they will do all right. I look at their squad for the upcoming season, especially with the forward duo of Charlie Wyke and Will Keane. They scored 32 goals between them last season. They also have championship experience in both the players and in the past. Actually, I think they got robbed, really, because they got the 12 points deduction the season before, which forced them to be relegated instead of the season afterwards. But either way, the owners were well dodgy, to be fair. But I think they'll hit the league like a duck to water, and I think they'll ensure safety easily, to be fair. 16th, Luton Town. I do rate Graham Jones, I rate the team, and I rate the stadium. But a bit like Barnsley, last season was a massive overachievement to reach the playoffs. And I think it'll be a bit of a come down to reality. I don't think they'll quite fall off a cliff like the Tykes did. That was truly biblical, that draw. I have no idea how they managed to do that bad. But it does seem unlikely with the squad that they have that they will be able to replicate that form this season. But stranger things have happened before the Championship. They could go on to reach the playoffs again, but I just don't see it happening. 15th, Millwall. They are a very typical mid-table side, whereby they challenge for the playoffs but never quite reach their goal. Let's look at the manager, Gary Rowett. I remember that was sort of my very first memory of management and avidly following Derby. Before I followed him since 2014-15, but not ridiculously so. Only really started following him under Rowett. And with Millwall, he's had 43 draws since 2019. They have also lost their target man of Jed Wallace, but I still think their defence is very solid. They've got Scott Malone, who's chipped in with a lot of assists I've seen. I think they'll have too many draws this season, so we'll end up in mid-table. 14th, Cardiff City. They were actually near a relegation place from the top half last season, but the squad is better than that. However, they did lose their standout player of Aidan Flint, who scored 6 goals as a centre-back last season. Steve Morrison takes risks with an all-action style of play, which involves a lot of passes until they get to a lethal area. But they still have a decent defence with Perry Ng and the acquisitions of Cedric Kipre and Marlon Romeo. That will improve the defence. They also have a vastly improved midfield with Edu Adams, Callum Adona, Andy Renamota, and Romain Sawyers. It's almost a new squad, though. But I think they will do much better. But not quite playoffs. 13th, Blackburn Rovers. They actually only won 6 games during the second half of last season, so I think we'll end up struggling. It also looks like Brereton Diaz is going to go to a different club. I've heard various rumours of where he might be going. They have already lost Rothwell, Danny Lenihan, Nyame, and Bradley Johnson. And on top of that, they have not replaced any of that with enough quality. So I think they'll finish mid-table this time round. 12th, I go with Sunderland. They will either finish in the playoffs or be relegated, according to different predictions I've seen. So I'm going to slap them dead in the middle of the table. Their good form from last season that enabled them to be promoted by the playoffs will continue this season. And they've got a very good fan base. The Mackhams are absolutely amazing in terms of support. Might go and see them, maybe. I'm hopefully going up to Newcastle in September and to go and live there. So hopefully maybe I'll end up at the Stadium of Light. But I think they'll be buoyed to a mid-table finish. But they also need to consolidate and build a team that is championship standard. But they'll be mid-table comfortably. 11th, Queen's Park Rangers. They had really bad form at the end of last season. From about February onwards, they had 11 losses in 17 games. That's ridiculously bad form. But they have got rid of the manager who did that, Mark Warburton. But they did bring in Michael Beale, and I think he'll start slowly. He needs to adapt. He needs an adaptation period. Don't just start jumping on him if he gets bad form. He needs to adapt. It'll be a bit of a, what do you call it? Transition season. But they'll rise slowly through the league and end at 11th place, I think. But not challenging playoffs. 10th for going Coventry City. They've managed to keep the core of their squad, actually. They've got O'Hare, Gyökeres, Hyam, and Haber. They are all crucial players, and they seem to have staved off interest. And this is hoping that this prediction's based on the fact that they probably will do. Although Burnley is sniffing around at the moment, I've seen. Every season, Mark Robin seems to improve the Sky Blues. And last season, they were 12th place, and I think they'll continue to grow. But there isn't enough quality for them to reach the playoffs for me. Yeah. 9th, I'll go with Stoke City. They are always backed in people's predictions to reach the playoffs, but that has not materialised over the last few seasons. If we just look at last season, they finished something like 16th or somewhere around that end of the table. But they do have a very good squad. That cannot be denied. I think they'll do better this season, and I think they'll push for playoffs. But not reach it, because they'll have a mid-table. They'll reach this place as long as they don't have mid-table low again. Because I think it was at the middle of the season that they had a bit of a dodgy form in November till February. Yeah. 8th, Huddersfield Town. They reached the playoffs last season, but I think they'll just miss out this time. This is because they've lost their key players of Lewis O'Brien, O'Brien, I've heard various pronunciations of his name, and Harry Toffolo. But they also have lost the backup players of Pippa and Naby Sarr. They will therefore challenge, but I think they'll fall away at the end. 7th, Swansea City. Despite them finishing 15th last season, the second half was a massive improvement to Russell Martin. From the first half of the season was quite bad, but they have placed the groundwork to be successful this season. They also have a prolific goal scorer of Joel Perreault, who scored 22 goals last season. And I've gone for a cheeky shout in fantasy. Instead of Perreault with Obafemi. I think he will chip in with a lot of assists and also score some goals in that department. They also have a very good midfield with Grimes, Allen, and Fulton, and also have a decent defence with Ryan Manning, Cabango, Darling, and Carl Norton. Therefore, I think they will challenge for the playoffs. 6th, Burnley. I know some people back them to go straight back up and win the league and stuff. And the squad is Premier League standard, but they have played a bit of a risky game with sacking Sean Dyche, really. And they've brought in a relatively inexperienced Vincent Kompany, who's only had a spell out in Anderlecht in Belgium. They've also lost for many key players. Collins has gone. Nick Pope has gone. Tarkowski has gone. Ben Mee has gone. Wayne Hennessy has gone. Wout Weghorst has gone. Aaron Lennon has gone. Well, some of them are sort of defenders. Well, some of them are backups as well, like Lennon, Dale Stevens, Eric Peters, and Phil Bardsley. But they've been around. They're part of the furniture. They have brought in decent quality, though. They have brought in Sam Cullen, Twine, Egan Riley, and McNally, and Muric. But that doesn't replace the defensive stability and the goalkeeping department that they have lost, as well as the centre-backs. And neither does it really bring in goals. Although, to be fair, Matai Vydra, last time he was in the Championship with Derby, set it on fire. But I do think Cornet might leave. There's some talk about him terminating his contract because there was a clause in his contract that if they got relegated that he could leave on a free. So I think they'll initially struggle to adapt, but just scrape into the playoffs during, say, the last 2 games. 5th, Sheffield United. They reached the playoffs last season and only missed out by a penalty shootout, and were probably more deserving in the match to be promoted, if we're being honest. I know it was against Forest, but I saw the game, and Sheffield United definitely had the better chances. But they have lost Morgan Gibbs-White, which I think does make a large gap in the goal-scoring department. Puts a bit of a burden on Billy Sharp. They've also lost Burke, McGoldrick. I know he was a bit injury-prone, but he's at Derby now. And Freeman. But they have brought back the loanees of Doyle and Kieran Clark, but more transfers are needed if this prediction, is to be proven correct. They probably needed a goal scorer to complement Sharp, and they also need to hold on to Sander Berg. But I think they will reach the playoffs. 4th, Middlesbrough. Chris Wilder has much experience of getting teams out of the division that really get promoted. He did it with the Championship with Sheffield United only a few seasons ago, back in 2018-19. They have a solid defence with Ryan Giles, Tommy Smith, Paddy McNair, Lenihan, and Darnell Fisher. They also have a decent midfield with Isaiah Jones, Tavernier, McGree, and Crooks. They also have a couple of decent forwards with Duncan Watmore and Ikpeazu. I've actually put 3 players from Middlesbrough in my fantasy team at the moment, so I'm banking on them to do well. Therefore, I think they'll finish in the playoffs, and maybe a bit of an earlier tip to thinking they might win them. 3rd, I'll go with West Bromwich Albion. I think last season was a bit frustrating and a bit of an underachievement, and I don't think it's likely to happen again. Steve Bruce has got experience of doing well in this league. He's been promoted out of it 2 times and has reached the playoffs a further time. Although the last time he did get promoted was in 2012-13, so a bit of a while ago now. They have a good strike force though, with Callum Robinson, Daryl DK, Grady Diangana, Kenneth Zahor, and Grant. And the attacking midfielders of Reach, Jake Livermore, and Mowat. They have also further improved the midfield with the acquisitions of Swift and Wallace. The only slight concern for me will be the defence, but they do have Furlong, Townsend, and Ajayi, which are all very good Championship players. I think on paper their squad is definitely capable of reaching 3rd. 2nd, Watford. Sorry about the phone. They are a yo-yo club, but it's unlikely they will stick with the manager they have now. Let's all be realistic. They can boast, though, of a wealth of talent, and the only reason they haven't been predicted to win the league, as I fully expect, Emil Dennis, Ismail Assar, and Jean Pedro to all leave. With a quality of depth, they will automatically get promoted. And finally, 1st, Norwich City. It's a never-ending cycle for the Canaries, with another promotion. They won the title in 2018-19 and 2020-21, only to be relegated again. I think they'll keep Pukki, so we'll score lots of goals. Dean Smith is very inexperienced at this level, having won promotion in 2019. With Villa, so we'll do again with a better squad. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you're new around here. Hugely appreciate it. Do you also feel that to join the Fantasy League? But goodbye for now.